This lesson is on evaluating expressions and solving equations. The directions for number 2 ask us to evaluate the expression n divided by 8 for each value of n. And in number 2 it tells us that n is 96. So we have to put 96 in the place of n and do 96 divided by 8. So you just set up your division problem, divide it out, and you get the value of the expression as 12. For number 6, the directions ask us to determine which value is a solution for the given equation. The equation is 9 times n equals 72, and we have to decide if n is 7, 8, or 9. Well, since 9 times 7 is not 72, that's not it. 9 times 8 is 72, so n equals 8. And 9 times 9 is 81, so we can check that one as well and make sure that that one is not a correct solution. Number 7's directions are the same. For number 7, we won't be able to use as much mental math possibly because we're dividing 147 by either 6, 7, or 8 to get 21. Now you could set up 6 into 147, divide it out to see if you get 21, do the same and do the same for 7 and for 8. But if you notice, the dividend is an odd number. And an odd number divided by an even number like 6 or 8 would have to have a remainder. It would not come out evenly. So 6 and 8 should not be solutions. But before you just automatically decide that 7 is your answer, it's always best to check it out. 7 into 14 is 2. 7 into 7 is 1. So again, because 6 and 8 were even, an even number will not go into an odd number without a remainder. 7 seemed like the most likely choice, but we checked it just to make sure. So our answer is y equals 7. For number 17, the directions are asking us to evaluate the expression for each value of n. Here the expression is 3n plus 2, and we have to use 79 and 81 in that expression. First of all, in the expression, 3n means 3 times n. So the first thing we'll have to do with 79 is multiply 3 times 79, then add 2. So if we do 79 times 3, we get 237 plus 2 gives us 239. We have to do the same expression, this time with 81. So we have to do 3 times 81 plus 2. So we multiply 81 times 3, and then we add 2. So our two values would be 239 and 245. For numbers 26, 27, and 29, the directions ask us to solve the equation, then check the solution. They don't give us any choices as to what n could equal, so we're relying on what we know about our facts on this one. So we have to ask ourselves, 24 divided by what is 12? 24 divided by 2 is 12. To check your work, you can do a couple of things. You can either mentally check it and say that if you're familiar with your 12 times tables, you know 12 times 2 would give you 24. Or you could go ahead and check it on paper and divide it out to make sure that 2 into 24 is 12. For one like number 27, 5 times m equals 45. Well, relying on our facts, we know that 5 times 9 equals 45, so m is 9. To check it, you would just put 9 in the place of m and make sure it equals 5 times 9 is 45. For number 29, once again, you can rely on your facts. But in problems like this, sometimes people get confused and they're not paying attention to the fact that the variable is first. It is the dividend. So it's going to be bigger than the 6 and the 3. So think of what number divided by 6 would give us 3. Or if we remember back from our division chapters, when we have the quotient and the divisor, to get the dividend we just have to multiply. So if we multiply 3 times 6, we'll get s, which is 18. To check it, is 18 divided by 6 equal to 3? Yes, it is, so you know that's a correct solution. All the ones that I'm going to give you on these are going to be mental math type of problems, so as long as you know your basic facts, you'll do fine on that. Lesson 2 is on order of operations. The steps that we'll be using in 5th grade will be doing parentheses first, then you do multiplication and division, and this part is very important, in order from left to right. And then we're going to do the addition and subtraction in order, once again, from left to right. That means we don't necessarily multiply then divide. It's whatever of those two operations comes first as we work from left to right in the problem. And it's the same thing for addition and subtraction. It's not addition first, then subtraction. You work the problem from left to right, and whichever of these two comes first, you work first. And you'll see what I mean in some of these examples. In number 5, if we follow up order of operations, first thing we look for is parentheses, but there are none. Step 2 says to look for multiplication and division. Well, here we have 8 times 5, multiplication. We work that before we work the addition problems. 8 times 5 is 40. We've used the 8 times 5, so we'll bring down the parts of the expression that we haven't used yet, which is the 10 plus and the plus 20. Make sure you keep everything in order as you bring it down. Now, since we're only left with addition, we're at step 3, which tells us to add and subtract from left to right. So we start on the left, and we'll multiply 10 times 40, which is 50. And then we can add our last step, 50 plus 20, which would give us 70. Number 6, first thing we look for is parentheses. This problem does have parentheses, so we'll do that part first. 10 plus 1 is 11. Then we'll bring down the 20 times and the plus 4. Step 2 says to look for multiplication and division. Here we have multiplication, so we have to do that before we can add. So we'll multiply 20 times 11, which would give us 220. Bring down the plus 4. Now we add 220 plus 4 and get 224. Number 10, once again we look for parentheses first. We have that here, so 11 minus 7 is 4. Then we bring down the 40 divided by 5 times. Step 2 says to do multiplication and division from left to right. So we start at the left. The first thing is division, so we have to work that before the multiplication. 40 divided by 5 is 8. We bring down the times 4. 8 times 4 is 32.